Well, first of all, I'd like to start off this afternoon by saying that I am thinking of and praying for the victims of the shootings that happened in our city just in the past 12 hours. It is disheartening that we as a city must come together in this manner, especially after a day filled with celebrations and Independence Day festivities. Pure and simple, the violence that happened in our downtown early this morning was absolutely unacceptable. Today, two families are having to grapple with the most unimaginable pain of finding out that they will never see their child again. Several families had to get the call that no parent should ever have to receive, and that is that their child was shot and injured. All of this pain, all of this grief, all of this heartache is avoidable and is preventable. There is no reason a young person should have a firearm, period. There is no reason a young person should be downtown after hours without parental supervision, period. It does not have to be that way. And we know it does not have to be that way. With each passing year since the implementation of the gun violence reduction strategy, violence and crime are down significantly across the board in Indianapolis. This comprehensive approach that includes IMPD, our Office of Public Health and Safety, and our partners at the Indy Public Safety Foundation, and so many community partners, those who are represented here today and many others. They are all making a difference. But on days like today, when we are grieving the loss of two young people, all of these strides we have made feel hollow. When our city's young people still have their lives rattled by gun violence, we know we have more work to do. And we will continue to keep working each and every day to identify ways in which we can keep our young people safe. It was in that spirit. Just last summer, we announced that IMPD would once again be enforcing the curfew on our youth. This year, since we have prioritized education over enforcement, trying to ensure every parent and guardian takes responsibility for their children in the overnight hours. But it is clear we must do more. So over the coming days, my office, along with IMPD, OPHS, and our community partners, will be taking steps to begin active enforcement of that curfew for our young people in our city's downtown. Before I pass things over to Chief Bailey, I want to offer my full-throated support as the chief executive for our city for curfew enforcement, and I want to thank the men and the women of IMPD to know that I stand behind them as they work every day and every night to protect and serve our community. Chief, let me know how I can best support your officers. I'll do whatever I can to make sure we have all the tools necessary to hold people accountable and to keep our city and its downtown safe, especially in situations like the one your officers dealt with this morning. So having said all of that, I give you Chief Chris Bailey, Chief of the Indianapolis Metropolitan Police Department.
Well, let me start off by saying what occurred this morning is not who we are. We're so much better than that. The level of violence is not reflective of the city that we love and the communities that we proudly serve. My heart hurts for those we've lost and for the families that remain to pick up the pieces. Their pain must be unimaginable. I'm going to give you a little bit of an update on the case last night, and then I'll have more remarks after that. At about 1:27 a.m., officers who were already working downtown dealing with a disturbance heard shots fired just about a half a block from where they were at. They ran toward that direction. When they got to the area of Washington and Illinois, they found 6 victims suffering from gunshot wounds. One 16-year-old male was declared dead on the scene, and the other 6 were transported to area hospitals. One of those victims, a 15-year-old male, was declared dead at the hospital. A 7th victim with gunshot wounds walked into Eskenazi Hospital after self-transporting themselves. The statuses of the other victims, I don't have it all at this point, but we'll follow up with the PIO office to get that information. But of those shot, one was 16 years old, one was 17 years old, 2 were 19 years old, and 1 was 21 years old. We should all be shaken by what occurred. We cannot grow numb to the violence in our community wherever it occurs. And we cannot accept this as normal. I stand here today angry and heartbroken, frustrated because too many lives are being lost. Too many families are grieving, and too many young people are growing up around violence and trauma. But I also stand here with even more determination to solve this problem. I was down there last night. I took runs with our officers all night, and we had hundreds of officers out throughout the weekends who show up to ensure the safety of those enjoying our downtown. And I appreciate their willingness to protect our city, and they are equally as frustrated as all of us are right now. They ran toward danger again. As others were fleeing the gunshots, our officers ran toward them. They are the best of us, and I'm proud of their courage and commitment. But what I saw downtown, what I've seen downtown over the last few weeks, is absolutely ridiculous. Lawlessness, disrespect, reckless behavior of people of all ages is not something we should expect. I watched as bottle rockets were shot from the top of parking garages onto community members below, as Roman candles were shot over people's heads as the fireworks were going on Monument Circle. I saw people openly using narcotics, partying in parking lots, fighting, all the while our officers chasing them around downtown. Hundreds of young people, some wearing masks, wearing clothing that's not fitting of a 90-degree day, backpacks flung on backwards for easy access to their weapons or their fireworks. And this just wasn't kids. These were young adults, and adults that should know better, should know how to act by now. And let me say this as clearly as I can. If you're coming downtown to engage in this kind of lawlessness, you are not welcome. Stay home or go home. We are done with this behavior. We will use every tool at our disposal to enforce the law and save lives. because that's our priority, the preservation of life. People have the right to come downtown. I want them to come downtown. It is the engine of our state. But I want them to leave the same way that they came, safe and unharmed. I said this early this morning, we can't do this alone, and I'm so thankful that it took no effort whatsoever to make phone calls today, to have these community people with us, standing up here with us, behind us, because they care about our kids, they care about our community. It did not take any effort at all for them to be standing here with us. We cannot do it alone. We're not going to accomplish our goal just by enforcement. And none of us want that. Earlier this summer, we launched a Know Before You Go campaign, trying to set clear boundaries from parents and guardians to their children, talk to their kids about what the curfew is, decide how often they would check in, pick the best ways to stay in touch, use technology to know where they are, know their friends and their friends' parents. We need our parents and guardians to speak up, to take charge, to be nosy. In some of those cases, I'm not so unaware that sometimes parents work and the kids are left to fend for themselves because they have to survive. I'm not aloof to that. And that's why any kind of curfew enforcement needs to be based in help and not punishment. Taking someone to the Family Justice Center, watching them go in the door and then out the back door is not going to help anyway. It's not going to help families. It's not going to help those kids. So, some changes that we're making today as we move forward. We are adding camera technology to strategic locations throughout downtown that have been identified as areas of concern over the last couple weeks. Our Assistant Chief Wally is working with the divisions to add additional police resources downtown, which will be there for the foreseeable future. I have a commitment from Indiana State Police Superintendent Anthony Scott to add troopers to the downtown area as we move forward throughout the summer. The Indiana State Police has been an unbelievable partner to the IMPD, giving us helicopter resources and resources as yesterday to make sure the fireworks area was safe and secure. I've spoken to Prosecutor Mears, who has offered his office's assistance as we move forward. I've directed our officers and detectives in every single probable cause to seek stay-away orders for the Mile Square for anyone charged with crimes of violence, weapons violations, or disorderly behavior, or repeat offenders that we have run into multiple times in the area. We'll be working with the council over the next couple weeks to update ordinances related to food vendors and food trucks, which are a constant source of issues, especially after the bars close at 3 a.m. And we are actively engaging with business owners, especially the owners of those surface lots who over the last few weeks have been problem points, sources of violence and shots fired, disorderly behavior, kids jumping from car to car to car to car on people's cars that aren't theirs, with little to no oversight from the people who operate those lots. And as the mayor said, we will be engaging with our community, the OPHS, family court over the next several days to establish a process for increased curfew detentions. And with that, I'll turn it over to one of our community partners who's doing outstanding work in the community, whose work every single day is making a difference, is contributing to the reductions that we see, but we all recognize that there's still more work to do, and he is committed.
Literally shaken. Feel like it's an out-of-body experience to be in this situation on a Saturday morning that I was looking forward to enjoying with my kids. But I also have kids that I work with directly and indirectly that I was checking on this morning after waking up, hearing what happened last night during the violence downtown. And it's so sad to see pictures circulating on social media right now of young men laying dead in the street who haven't even had a chance yet to experience life. So my phone call or my morning has been filled with checking in on young people that I know, checking in on families. I do not stand before you with a solution. I don't have a magic formula for this issue, but I do stand before you encouraged, motivated to go back home and check on more kids, to affirm young people, to hopefully quell some of the retaliation that we know might be coming for last night's violence. My opinion might be contradictory or in conflict with some other people where they say this is a community problem. No, this is a personal problem. It has to be a personal problem. You have to take this personal. You have to take this personal. We all do our part. We take it personal, we do our part, then we build and bridge the community. But you have to take responsibility as a mom, a dad, a man, a woman, a grandmother, a aunt, a cousin, or uncle. I think we know what's going on in our homes. We know what's going on in our neighborhoods. The unfortunate circumstance, and I do send my full condolences to the families that are now planning funerals and are visiting hospitals this morning. But I know that more people will surround those young men that died at a funeral than surrounded those young men when they were living. That's unfortunate. The work is not going to be solved downtown. We move the needle before the kids come downtown. That's what has to happen. You have to want to go into the communities, the schools that you might feel uncomfortable in. It doesn't start downtown. So the chief, the mayor, the city can put as many checks and balances or barriers and technology as they want downtown. We have to reach the kids before they get downtown. As I'm receiving messages this morning from our young people, they're saying, I'm good, we're good, my people are good. One message that stood out from a young man that was sent to our mentors, he said, I'm straight. That's a small thing to a giant. That's a 15-year-old. That's a direct quote that we received on our mentor thread from a young man. That what happened last night is a small thing to a giant. Our kids are in pain. That's what we're seeing. We're seeing this pain that our kids are in. And we're seeing it manifest itself in a really ugly way. Our kids are hurting. So again, not what is the community going to do, what are you going to do? If you're watching, whether you're watching it now or tomorrow, whenever you see this, what are you going to do? I know what I'm going to do. I know what I'll continue to do. But I need you to adopt 2 words. I challenge you, I dare you to adopt 2 words. Mama, grandma, auntie, uncle, daddy, sister, cousin, wherever you at. 2 words. I need you to say, not mine. That's what I want you to say, not mine. The graveyards will not get mine. The prisons will not get mine. The jails will not get mine. Not my grandson, not my son, not my nephew, not my daughter, my granddaughter. Adopt that, not mine. Social media, not mine. You won't get mine. We can't save the world, but you can damn sure change and save your world, your private world, not mine. So as we move forward as a city and we go through this grieving process, understand our kids are grieving just as much. We have some families that are hurting, but imagine all those kids who saw what they saw last night. Imagine their little brothers, little sisters that have to hear what happened. It's a trickle-down effect. And sometimes we don't understand until it hits your front door. It's now hit your front door. Make it personal. It is now on your doorstep. It is personal. And I will say this, the website is newbreedofyouth.org. Mom, grandma, auntie, uncle, daddy, send your son to me. Send your nephew to me. No capacity. Send them to me. Send them to us. We have collaborative partners we will work with, that we are working with. We have activities for the summer. They want to fight, we got a boxing ring. You want to work out, we got a gym. You want to spit some rap? You want to get in the studio? We got a booth. You want to earn some money? We got a young entrepreneurs program. There's nothing we will not do to make a connection, not only with a young person, but the family. No excuses. My phone number is on the website. My email address is on the website. You can reach out to me directly. There's no 6 degrees of separation with me. 1 degree. And that 1 degree of separation is you. Reach out. If not me, somebody else. There are programs in the city. There are kids doing amazing things in this city, and we have to start highlighting that. Let's start putting that on the news. Let's start highlighting the amazing things that some of these kids are doing. We are sending kids off to college. We are sending kids off to the military. I am frustrated, but I am encouraged. I am motivated to get back to work. And with that, introduce you to my pastor, Mr. Richard Reynolds.
Thank you, Kareem, for those passionate words. I just want to share that as we know, our community is in crisis. This is a crisis situation, and crisis presents us with opportunities. We have an incredible opportunity. If I just add on some of what Kareem said in a slightly different way, we have an opportunity to step up and make a personal investment. We have an opportunity to step up and actually do something ourselves in recognition that this is not an IMPD problem. This is not simply a city of Indianapolis problem. I'll say the same thing Kareem said, but in a different way. It is a community problem, but the community is made up of individuals who do have to make some personal decisions to make a difference. It doesn't matter what zip code you live in. It doesn't matter what your social economic class is. It does not matter what your educational levels are. This is a problem that all of us must face together. We're standing together, united as partners, and our community is in crisis. And I just want to add that, the feeling of sadness and grief that is in the room is palpable. The levels of emotion that Kareem shared, that our mayor shared, that our chief shared are real, and they are felt by everybody in the room, including the media. And so I want you to understand that the care for our community is real. People standing here serving our community are doing so from the bottom of their hearts, out of a desire for our community to be healthy. And we trust that our community will be healthy, but it's going to take healthy people making personal decisions to give back and do something to make a difference. We're in a crisis. And it's not just a social crisis. Truth be told, this is a spiritual crisis. And we cannot just throw social solutions at a spiritual problem and expect to get the kind of results that we want to get. This is spiritual. And if we don't address it spiritually, we'll continue in the cycle. Even with the progress, it's still challenge after challenge. And so I want to challenge the entire community and the faith community in particular to be intentional to pray for the peace of our city. Prayer is not a passive activity. We need people to pray for the peace of our city. We need people to pray for our government officials. We need the people to pray for our community leaders and organizations that are serving on the front lines. Your prayers can and will make a difference. We've got to work in partnership. And parents, I want you to know that you are the most important part of that partnership. I know some of you are feeling overwhelmed. Some of you need help. We know you need help. Reach out and ask for help. Reach out to our organizations. Reach out to our churches. I pastor New Revelation Christian Church. We lead Crown Mentoring Program here in this city. Reach out and ask for help. There are people who have dedicated their lives to helping our community. Get the help that you need. Don't be embarrassed. You know whether or not your child is doing what they're supposed to be doing. You know before anybody else knows whether or not your child is out of control. And if you need help, get the help that you need. Indianapolis is a community that cares. And everyone speaking today cares for our community. Pray for the peace of our city. Let's receive now Pastor Jeffrey Johnson, Jr.
Good afternoon. My heart is broken. I am devastated, but I also echo Kareem in that I'm also encouraged and motivated. First of all, my prayer goes out to the families that were impacted last night in the shooting. My thoughts and prayers go out to you. I pray that the God of all comfort will comfort you in this time of grief. But the reality is incidents like this will continue to happen. When we defund our schools and our social communities, organizations, when we take away books but leave guns, we leave our children idle to their own devices. And it's not a time to point fingers. I echo the leaders that have already spoken. This is going to be a communal effort. It starts at home. And as Pastor Reynolds has just mentioned, there's help out there and resources for us to connect with in order to ensure that we invest on the front end of our children so that we can ignore the press conferences and funerals on the back end. And it's time for us to invest, whether it's financial, whether it's our time, our energy, whether it's our facilities and churches. As Pastor Reynolds mentioned, this is a spiritual investment that we need to consider in terms of our children. We are leaving too many children out on the streets when there are other resources and options that we can plug our children into. And so, as my co-laborers in this work have already mentioned, we're calling out on every parent. We're calling every uncle, auntie, cousin, friend, mentor, pastor, preacher, leader, community organization. This is a communal effort that we need to invest in our children so that we can ignore situations like this in the long run. And we've already highlighted Kareem's organization and the work that Pastor Reynolds is doing at his church. And there are countless others like Inner Beauty for our young ladies under construction, Girl Talk Indy. Over at the Eastern Star Church on the east side of Indianapolis, we too have our youth center where we house a summer camp, summer learning labs, even right now. So when we continue to invest in organizations that's already doing the work, we can invest in the future of our front end of our children so that we can ignore the grief and the pain that families are experiencing even right now on the back end. And so I want to continue to encourage the city of Indianapolis, let this be a wake-up call. Let this be a wake-up call for us to wake up, to step up, to continue to do what is necessary so that our children can avoid caskets and graduate from college and walk into careers and make an impact on the community, because we've invested in them now. They'll look back and come back and invest in the future generations. And so again, My prayer and my thoughts go out to the families who are impacted, who are in this moment, this tough moment of grief. But this is a moment for our city to come together, to wake up, and continue to look up for the help and the spirit that we need to make this city a peaceful place that it already is. Thank you.
We'll open it up for questions if you have any.
Mr. Mayor, based on what downtown's experience last night, the past couple of weeks, do you feel that downtown is still a safe place? And what's going to take to convince the merchants who live down there, the residents who live down there, and all the people who've done this hard work that downtown is still statistically relatively safe?
Yeah, Abdul, the truth is the downtown remains the safest neighborhood in our community. Now, it's marred by events like last night. And what we don't focus on is the progress that not only downtown, but the city as a whole has made in our gun violence reduction strategy. Last night, when this is covered in the news, it's normal for people to say, ipso facto, downtown is not safe. And I think all of us are committed to making sure that when people do come downtown, they can come downtown with the assurance that nothing bad is going to happen to them or any of their family.
For Chief Bailey,
Can I just add on to that little bit of that? I mean, look what we've hosted in downtown Indianapolis over the last 2 years, 1.5 years. Hundreds of thousands, if not maybe even 1 million people have come through and went back the way they came. Downtown represents about 6% of the total crime every single year in our city. We are a big city. This is not a sleepy small town. It's unfortunate when these things happen, and we're all committed to doing our part to help reduce that. In my budget as the IMPD chief, we spend a lot of money to make sure downtown is protected and that investment is protected. But we're also responsible for 350 square miles across the entire county, and so we care about every single neighborhood. But as the mayor said, I'm coming downtown tonight with my family, and I'll do it again next weekend if I have to. Downtown is a safe place to be, but after midnight, nothing really good happens, and your kids should not be out after midnight. Yes, ma'am.
speaking of the timing, just to clarify the curfew, is it still 11 for kids under 15 and then 1, I think, for 15?
Yeah, nothing's changed. We'll get you the exact things after we're done here just to make sure, but nothing in the law has changed.
Mayor, Chief, can you make that tighter? You just said nothing good happens after midnight. Why do we need to have kids out at 1 o'clock anyway? Do you have the authority to make that tighter?
We're operating under the state law. So as we move forward, if there's adjustments that need to be made, we'll work with our attorneys here at OCC and IMPD to see if there's some other adjustment we need to make. If it's a local ordinance, remember, ordinances are those are not arrestable offenses; those are fines, right? So, and then even as a juvenile, when you take someone into custody for curfew, it's not a crime. It is a status violation. There's no penalty associated with it. That's why I said if and when we move into that direction of increased enforcement, it can't be punitive in nature. It has to be something where there's some sort of positive result of it. Because if it's just about punishment or punishing parents who we've talked about some of the challenges that they have, then it's ultimately going to fail. That it can't be what we do. So it's not a crime to be out after a certain time. It is a status offense, and there's a difference.
Is it time for that to change, Chris?
Yeah, I don't know that criminalizing it is the answer. We made at least 11 arrests that I know of for criminal violations before this happened. So our officers aren't afraid to make those criminal arrests when necessary. Like I said, I don't see a lot of value in perpetuating juveniles through the criminal justice system. There's very little, in my opinion, help that they get by entering the criminal justice system, and that's not a dig at the courts or Marion County. It's just a fact of the matter. That's why we are part of a diversion program for low-level offenses of juveniles, so that we can divert someone to the Boys and Girls Club of Indianapolis, so that when they make a mistake as a juvenile, we don't create a future criminal. That we give them opportunities to be better and improve. That's what Kareem's doing. That's what OPHS is doing. That's what the pastors are up here doing. So many others that are doing the work. But now, in my conversations with Prosecutor Mears, we both agree that there are some people under the age of 18 that just have to go to jail, and those individuals will. Weapons violations, crimes against persons, shooting people, shooting guns into the air, those are individuals that we have to deal with, and we have to deal with them pretty harshly. This prosecutor, our detectives, have not shied away from charging juveniles as adults for the crimes that we are allowed to do. Is it something that anybody enjoys? Absolutely not. But some of our kids act like adults, and they're going to have to be treated like adults.
Have there been any arrests yet?
Hold on one second. Did you have a question?
Yeah, I did. Do you think it's necessary or possible, for like the young, the minors who have guns or committing crimes to hold their parents accountable for some of their crimes going forward?
I failed to mention that in my remarks. That's one of the other conversations that we've had that I'll have with the prosecutors as days go by. I know these are probably not easy cases, but neglect of a dependent is a potential charge. Contributing to delinquency of a minor is a potential of those charges, but they'll probably be very difficult to make. Those are decisions that are made at the prosecutorial level, not at our level. Something we have to explore in certain circumstances, but as we all said, is it the right thing to do to charge a parent who is working their second job and their kid goes out and comes downtown against their knowledge, jumps on the bus and comes downtown? I don't know that that's the answer in every circumstance. Are there some that are contributory? Absolutely. I lost count of how many adults that I saw pull up downtown last night and just drop 5 or 6 kids off and then drive off into the sunset. I had to go up to cars on the circle where there were parents sitting in the car and say, do you realize what just happened in the circle? You need to get your kids wherever they are, and this was 11:30ish, get them in this car and take them home. 2 different sets of parents sitting there waiting as their kids wandered around downtown Indianapolis. We can't do that. We just can't do it. You can't be that aloof to what's going on around you.
Chief, were there any arrests? And then I got another question.
In the particular shooting case, no, that case remains active. There may have been, I didn't get it confirmed before I walked in here, an arrest related to a firearms charge of one of the juveniles that was taken into custody as part of the investigation, but not necessarily as a shooter. So we're still pulling video. There's video from the Conrad, there's video from Circle Center Mall. We pulled public safety camera video, but that's all still being gone through. The detective is at some point is going to have to get some sleep, but they're working through all that.
Chief, could you speak?
At some point you said, we heard 20 arrests. Was that just from different things that happened?
Yeah, that was the information going around, maybe additional outside of downtown, but I think that Drew confirmed at least 11 from last night for charges ranging from weapons possession. There were 2 kids that were arrested for weapons possession. One was 17 years old. He was arrested for dangerous possession of a firearm, resisting obstruction of justice. And there was at least one other kid that I heard that was arrested for firearms, but I don't see it. And the rest of them were criminal recklessness, probably for shooting fireworks at people, disorderly conduct, and criminal recklessness, battery. We did take a 14-year-old in custody for curfew, but there were also charges related to resisting battery on a law enforcement officer, and the individual tried to run away, so escape.
We keep talking about kids. Kids. Every weekend it's kids at midnight. We hear, I know last weekend there was a big brawl, a group of kids, or the weekend before, just after midnight. In years past, we've talked about young adults making bad decisions in their 20s, coming from the club. I have done numerous stories about teenagers. You just said 14, 15, 16, 17-year-olds who are making this decision. And I've talked to you enough to know that I know that when we talk about parents needing to step up, that part is genuine. But I work with kids. A lot of these folks up here work with kids. And sorry to say, but the parents today suck. And a lot of them are lousy and are not going to step up with what you are saying.
Yep.
So a couple people have brought up this plan. And they've said, whatever time curfew is, midnight, 12:30, whatever. What if you got all the community organizations that work with the city? I'm talking from the Boys and Girls Club to New Boy to whoever's doing a lock-in. Get these resources downtown and start telling these kids, hey, midnight is curfew. And if at 12:30 you are not out of here we're gonna put you on one of these buses, and I'm not talking about locking people up, I'm talking about finding the parents. We're gonna put you on one of these buses. We're gonna go to the parking lot of the Community Justice Center, because if we don't pick you up here, there's a chance you're gonna come out of here anyway, either at the morgue or from the courthouse. Call your parents. Your parents are gonna pick you up here, because you were saying you were seeing them dropped off. Well, when they come pick them up, you're gonna find out, well, why is your 14-year-old out here at 1:30 in the morning? And the goal is to find the parent, not trying to lock the kid up.
Yeah.
But some way we have to get the parents, and I hear your passion. We could say it at midnight, where are your children? You know where your children are. But could you get, and if you say, well, that's gonna be a lot of resources, that's why we got these community organizations, Boys and Girls Clubs, Simpson School, resource officers down from school districts who might know these kids and say, you either get your parent on the phone or you're gonna spend the night here, because the alternative is you've got 7 kids who are coming out of a hospital, 2 that'll be coming out of a morgue, and countless others that, of young people, young adults who are gonna come out of the community justice system anyway. So it's either we take care of this in the parking lot before you have to come out of one of these buildings.
Well, I mean, I think that's what the mayor and I both said, that over the coming days, we're gonna work with our community partners to try to figure out something exactly that path.
We'll take one last question.
Yep.
You said there's going to be increased police presence downtown through Indiana State Police and IMPD as well. Could you just be a little bit more specific about the numbers for those and where?
Yeah, I mean, it's going to fluctuate. So last night there was an event, which was a very successful event. Families, people came downtown, they watched the fireworks. After the fireworks were over, they left. The individuals that we dealt with all night were not interested in watching the fireworks. So there was increased staffing downtown. On a regular Saturday night or Friday night, we run what's called special event teams downtown, usually 2 or 3 of those. We have to make sure those are filled. Our officers are working a lot of overtime and have for a considerable amount of time. So getting people to voluntarily work those overtime shifts is getting more and more difficult. So since Chief Wally is working with the both divisions, both operations and investigations, to make sure everybody in our department knows this is an all skate. For events, all these things, it's not just going to be on the backs of our operations uniform officers. We're going to get detectives out. We're going to get administrative personnel out into the field so we can make sure that that downtown in every neighborhood, because if something happens down here significant like that, then we have to draw resources from every other neighborhood, and that's not fair to those neighborhoods. But this is where the people are. You're right. I said it last night on TV. You want to engage with the kids. You want to try to protect them. I'm telling you where they are on Friday and Saturday nights. I told you where they are. They're not going to your gym right now. They're not going to play basketball on Friday nights. They're downtown for multiple reasons. You want to engage with them, come on down. I'll work with you. I'll tell you where they're at. I'll share information. I'll give you the incident commander's number. You can communicate with us all night long.
Mr. Mayor, any final words for the public that may be worried, may still be concerned?
Well, I think that the collection of community leaders is a good sign that we're all committed to eradicating. Why a young person walks around downtown with a gun. What is a young person doing in downtown Indianapolis at 2 and 3 o'clock in the morning? Those are rhetorical questions that we're going to collectively try to answer. As a follow-up, though, I want to make it clear, while we focus a lot on juveniles, and obviously today has been all about what occurred last night to largely 16, 17, 18, 19-year-olds. But the truth is also, in the city of Indianapolis, the number of both criminal homicides and non-fatal shootings occur between the ages of 30 and 34. Without question, that is the age category. So I understand why a young person being shot downtown generates an enormous amount of enthusiasm. But we also, collectively as a city, are dealing with a gun-related problem that almost irresponsibly occurs among older young people, 30, 35 years old. That's where the numbers exist.
But Mayor, does the city have or the city, state, whoever, we're talking about kids. Those adults are a different story. We're talking about kids who don't have the same rights as us. Doesn't somebody have to say, this is a particular problem because They're just kids.
Well, that's what we've been saying. That's what every speaker today has underscored. And while this is a sad day for so many reasons, it is a day of hope. It is a day of new beginnings. And I think we just have to collectively commit to that.
Thank you, everybody.